When you operate in your gift, when you step into that thing you were born to do, it does something to you. It gives you life. It gives you energy. You stop dragging your feet every morning and you start waking up with purpose. You stop counting the days to the weekend because every day feels like it's worth living. Now let me break it down a little more. Your gift is that thing you do naturally without even thinking twice, and people around you are blessed by it. It's the thing that comes easy to you but amazes everybody else. That's not just talent. That's not just coincidence. That's divine. That's your God-given gift. And when you focus on developing that, when you nurture it, when you pour into it, when you trust God enough to lean into it, He'll start making ways you never imagined. Doors will open, people will call, opportunities will show up that you didn't even apply for. That's what happens when you stop chasing jobs and start walking in your gift. See, the system has us backwards. We spend all this time building resumes, but not enough time building ourselves. We take personality tests, but ignore our passion. We go into fields that sound safe instead of doing what actually sets our hearts on fire. And then we wonder why we feel empty. We wonder why even when we get the job, the promotion, the benefits, we still feel like something's missing. You know, because a job can never fill the space in you that was designed for your gift. Let me tell you something else. Your gift will make room for you. That's not just some nice phrase, that's scripture. Your gift will create the space you need to live the life you were meant to live. But you gotta trust it. You gotta stop burying your gift under fear. Stop covering it up with doubt. Stop saying, well, it's just a hobby or nobody's gonna pay me to do that. You'd be surprised what people will pay for when you're operating in excellence and purpose. And don't let the early struggle fool you. Yeah, walking in your gift might not pay right away. It might feel uncomfortable. You might be laughed at. People might tell you to be realistic. But guess what? You can be broke doing something you hate or broke doing something you love. And when you choose the gift, at least you're building something. At least you're honoring what God put in you. And let me tell you, if God gave it to you, He will make a way to sustain it. But you gotta be bold enough to go after. You gotta be willing to say, I'm not gonna keep looking for jobs that don't align with who I am. I'm gonna look within. I'm gonna ask God to show me my gift. And then I'm gonna trust Him enough to follow where it leads. That's not easy. That's faith. That's real obedience. That's walking by vision and not by sight. So I'm not here to knock your job, all right? I'm here to remind you that it's not your only option. You were not created to just work, retire, and die. You were created to live. And real living happens when you find what you were put here to do, and you do it with everything you got. Because your job may provide a check, but your gift will provide a life. Now let me tell you something that a lot of people never hear in their whole life. You are not here to just exist. You are here to do something special. And I don't mean special like you gotta be famous or on TV or have millions of followers. I mean special as in, there's something in you that nobody else can do quite like you. There's a light in you that God placed there for a reason. But the problem is most people never take the time to find it. We out here chasing jobs like that's all we were meant to do. Filling out applications hoping somebody gives us permission to be useful. But let me ask you something. When's the last time you looked for your gift instead of just a job? See, the system has trained us to follow a routine. Go to school, graduate, pick a major you think will make you the most money. Get hired, sit at a desk, do work that doesn't move you, live for the weekends, pray for holidays, then retire. But what if I told you that maybe, just maybe, God didn't design you for that cycle? What if He put something inside you that you were meant to discover and not just be distracted from? Your gift is not going to be posted on a job board. You're not going to find it listed under open positions. It ain't going to be handed to you in a benefits package. Your gift is inside of you. It's been there the whole time. And you already know what it is. You've just been ignoring it because the world told you it wasn't practical. Maybe it's your ability to inspire people. Maybe you can build things with your hands. Maybe you have a voice that moves. Maybe your way with words, your sense of style, your eye for detail, your heart for people, that thing you do so naturally that other people struggle with. That's your gift. And don't confuse skill with gift. Skills can be taught. You can go to school to learn a skill, but it gets different. A gift is something you were born with. It's something God Himself placed in you. It's yours and yours alone. And the crazy part is, most people spend their entire lives ignoring it, trying to fit into something they were never designed for, trying to squeeze into jobs and titles and careers that don't match their spirit. And that's why so many folks are unfulfilled. I'm not saying everybody's supposed to be an entrepreneur. I ain't saying quit your job tomorrow and chase a dream you haven't prepared. But what I am saying is this: If you never take the time to discover what your gift is, you'll always settle for less than what God had in mind for you. You'll always be out here hustling to survive instead of walking in purpose to live. And I get it, it's scary, because we've been taught to play it safe. We've been told to get security, not passion. But you know what's scarier than taking a risk on your gift? Spending the rest of your life wondering what if? What if you had believed in yourself? What if you had trusted that God gave you something valuable? What if you had stepped out on faith and discovered a life that didn't require you to beg for vacation days just to catch your breath? You were never meant to just work and pay bills. You were meant to build something. You were meant to impact people. You were meant to use what was placed in you to bring light into the world. And I promise you this, when you tap into your gift, when you develop it, when you lean into it with everything you got, you become unstoppable. You walk different. You talk different. You start attracting opportunities that match your energy. Because when you live in your gift, it draws the right people, the right doors, the right path. But it starts with you saying, I'm done looking for just a job. I'm going to start looking for the real reason I'm here. You don't need anybody's permission to do that. You don't need a degree for that. You don't need a title. All you need is the willingness to look within, to be honest with yourself, to ask God to show you who you really are, and then be bold enough to go after. Because here's the truth. The world needs what you have. Somebody out there is waiting on the thing only you can do. And if you never uncover that gift, they'll miss out, and so will you. So don't let the noise of the world drown out the whisper of purpose. Don't let the fear of failure keep you from finding the very thing that was meant to elevate you. Stop looking for the next job and start looking for your gift.
And things don't fall into place right away. You try and it feels like you're failing. People doubt you. Money gets tight. You start asking, did I make a mistake? But let me tell you something important. Just because it's hard doesn't mean it's wrong. Sometimes God will test your faith before he delivers the blessing. He wants to know, do you trust me enough to keep going even when it's uncomfortable? That's why I say stop looking at fear like it's a sign to stop. Fear is going to show up no matter what. It always shows up when you're getting close to something meaningful, when you're about to break out of what's been holding you back. So when fear starts whispering in your ear, that's not your cue to quit. It's your cue to press harder, to lean deeper into faith, because fear keeps you stuck, but faith gets you free. You know, a lot of folks want clarity before they move. They want every detail, every guarantee. If I quit this job, what will happen? If I start this business, who's going to support it? If I follow my dream, what if I fail? But let me tell you something, clarity is a reward of faith, not a requirement. You don't get the whole picture up front. You take one step, and then God reveals the next, and then the next. That's how he works. He doesn't show you the entire staircase. He hands you the first step and says, trust me. Now let me get real with you. Faith will cost you something. It'll cost you comfort. It'll cost you convenience. It might even cost you some relationships, because not everybody's going to understand your journey. But what you get in return, peace, purpose, fulfillment, ain't nothing you could buy. There's nothing like waking up knowing you're walking in what you were created for. And that only comes when you stop living scared and start living surrendered. Let me ask you something. What are you believing for? Not what are you hoping for, but what are you believing for? Because there's a difference. Hope says, I wish this could happen. Faith says, I know God can make this happen. Faith doesn't just wait, it prepares. It doesn't just dream, it moves. You can say you got faith all day, but if your actions don't match it, then you're just talking. If you believe God gave you a gift, then why aren't you developing it? Why aren't you sharing it? Why are you still sitting in a job that doesn't match your calling, telling yourself you'll figure it out later? There is no perfect time. Later might not come. All you have is now. And if God gave you the vision, he'll give you the provision. But he can't move through a plan you never started. And I'll tell you something else. Faith doesn't mean you won't be afraid. Faith means you do it anyway. It means you take the stage while your hands are shaking. You apply even when you don't feel qualified. You launch that idea even though the money ain't all there yet. You trust that God is not going to let you fall flat because he's the one who gave you the gift in the first place. It takes courage to walk in faith. It takes guts to say, I know what the world expects of me, but I'm choosing something greater. But every person who's ever done something meaningful had to make that choice. They had to decide that fear wasn't going to run the show anymore. They had to shut down that inner voice saying you're not good enough and replace it with the truth. If God brought me to it, He'll bring me through it. So if you're standing at a crossroads right now, if you feel something pulling at you, calling you higher, asking you to step out of what's familiar, I need you to listen to that. That's God saying, I've got more for you. Don't let fear convince you to stay small. Don't let doubt keep you from destiny. You were not meant to play it safe. You were meant to walk by faith and live boldly. Because the life you're praying for, it's waiting on the other side of your fear. Let me tell you something that's so real, it might change the way you look at everything around you. There's this idea that success comes from working hard, putting in your hours and grinding it out. And yes, you gotta put in the work, that's a given. But here's the secret that most people miss. When you are walking in your gift, doors open that you didn't even know existed. Opportunities come that you didn't even apply for. And that's not just because you're working hard, it's because you're walking in purpose. When you stop chasing a job and start chasing your calling, the right doors just start to open. Let me break this down. Most of us are used to this idea of having to make it happen. We think we need to create our own opportunities by pushing harder, networking more, being in the right place at the right time. And there's truth to that. Don't get me wrong, but there's another layer to this thing that I need you to understand. When you are truly walking in your gift, things begin to shift. You stop having to force everything. The right people start showing up. The right resources start falling into place. The right opportunities come knocking at your door when you least expect it. And that's not coincidence, that's purpose at work. Think about it. When you're doing what you're meant to do, it doesn't feel like work. You're energized by it. You're fueled by it. And that energy starts radiating outward. People start noticing. You start getting calls you didn't have to make. You start getting invites you didn't have to send. You're not out there hustling for every chance, you're attracting them. You become a magnet for what you're meant to do. And that, my friend, is when you start seeing real success, not the kind you grind for, but the kind that just flows into your life. Here's the thing, the world is full of people just looking for jobs, doing whatever they can to get by. And that's okay, because sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. But if you're spending all your time just chasing that paycheck, you're missing the bigger picture. You're not just here to survive, you're here to make an impact. You're here to do something with your life that only you can do. When you start operating in your gift, when you start walking in your true purpose, something changes. The very act of pursuing your calling opens up opportunities you never imagined. I'm not saying you don't have to put in the work. You absolutely do. But what I am saying is that when you align with your purpose, the work becomes more than just effort. It becomes an offering. It becomes a part of who you are. And that energy, that authenticity, that passion, it speaks to people. It connects you with people who see what you're doing and recognize the value in it. People who are in a position to help you, to elevate you, to give you opportunities. They'll come to you because they'll see that you're doing something that matters. And when those opportunities come, you have to be ready. That's why walking in your gift is so important. It's not just about waiting for the door to open, it's about being prepared when it does. It's about staying ready so you don't have to get ready. Because when the door opens, it might be bigger than you expected. It might be the chance of a lifetime, but if you're not in alignment with your purpose, you might not even see it. You might not even recognize it for what it is. But when you're in your gift, you'll see the door and you'll know it's meant for you. You'll have the confidence to walk through it because you've been preparing for this moment your whole life, even if you didn't realize it. That's what happens when you start living out your purpose. Things start falling into place without you having to force them. I can't tell you how many times in my own journey I've seen this happen. I've had doors open in my life and career that I never knocked. I wasn't out there begging for an opportunity. I was just living in my purpose. And the right people took notice. That's the power of purpose, y'all. It's magnetic. It attracts the right opportunities, the right relationships, the right resources. Now let's be clear, walking in your gift doesn't mean things will always be easy. It doesn't mean you won't face challenges. You will. You'll get knocked down, you'll have setbacks, and you'll face rejection. But when you're walking in your gift, you're not doing it just for the paycheck. You're not doing it for the applause or the recognition. You're doing it because it's what you were made to do. And that's what keeps you going when the road gets tough. Because when you're aligned with your purpose, you have a deeper motivation than just getting by. You're not out here grinding just to make ends meet. You're out here because you know your gift is meant to bless the world. You know you're meant to make an impact, to inspire people to change lives. And when you're driven by that purpose, nothing can stop you. You'll keep going, even when it feels like the world is telling you to give up. Because you know you're on the right path, and when you're on the right path, the right doors open. So stop chasing jobs and start chasing your gift. Don't just settle for what's in front of you. Don't just take what the world is handing out. Step into what God has already placed inside you, and trust that the right doors will open. The right opportunities will come, and when they do, you'll be ready. Because when you're walking in purpose, nothing can stop you. You keep asking the why nots, you'll never get to the real question. Why not me? Why shouldn't I be the one who steps into my purpose? Why shouldn't I be the one who takes this gift and runs with it? Why shouldn't I be the one who makes an impact in this world? You've got to have the audacity to believe that your dreams are just as worthy of coming true as anyone else's. When God gave you that gift, He didn't give it to you so you could keep it hidden. He didn't give it to you so you could play small, so you could let fear take over and keep you stuck in a job that doesn't fulfill you, a life that doesn't excite you. No, He gave it to you to use, to put it to work, to step out in faith and trust that He will open the doors as you walk in your purpose. But in order to do that, you've got to stop doubting yourself. You've got to stop believing the lies that tell you you're not ready, not enough, not qualified. The reality is, nobody feels ready. Everybody has doubts. Everybody faces those moments where they wonder if it's worth it. But what separates the ones who make it from the ones who don't is simple. They didn't quit. They didn't let the fear of not being good enough stop them from stepping out. They didn't let the fear of failure keep them in a place of safety. They kept going, one step at a time, believing that what was inside them was greater than what the world told them they could or couldn't do. Let me tell you something that's going to set you free. You do not need to be perfect. You do not need to have it all figured out. You don't need to wait for everything to line up before you start. I'll say it again, you don't need to wait for the perfect moment. The perfect moment doesn't exist. What you need is the courage to start. What you need is the faith to step out even when it's scary, even when you don't have all the answers. Because the more you wait for everything to be perfect, the longer you delay the gift God placed inside you from coming to fruition. It's like planting a seed. You don't wait for the tree to grow before you plant it. You plant the seed, and then you water it, you nurture it, you let it grow in God's timing. But if you don't plant the seed, it'll never grow. And it's the same thing with your dream. If you keep waiting for the perfect moment, you'll never take the first step. But when you step out, when you start taking action in the direction of your gift, that's when things start to move. That's when God begins to multiply your efforts, send people into your life to help you, and open doors you didn't even know were there. You've got to believe that God doesn't just put you here to work for a paycheck and call it a day. He put you here to do something bigger. He put you here to make a difference. But none of that happens if you don't first believe that you are capable of stepping into what He has for you. It doesn't happen if you let fear paralyze you, if you let self-doubt keep you stuck in a cycle of I'll do it tomorrow, or I'm not ready yet. You are ready right now, right where you are. All you have to do is take the first step and the rest will follow. And here's the thing, you are going to face challenges. You are going to face rejection. You are going to have those moments where it feels like nothing is working out, where you feel like giving up. But what separates those who succeed from those who quit is this: they believe in the bigger picture. They believe that what they're going through is part of the process. They trust that God has a plan, even when they can't see it. They don't quit when it gets hard. They press through. When you have that kind of belief in yourself, when you know that your gift is bigger than the fear and bigger than the obstacles, you don't give up. You keep going, one step at a time, knowing that every step forward is a step closer to the life you were meant to live. You keep believing that God is with you every step of the way, even when you can't see Him. And that kind of belief, that's what makes the impossible possible. So believe in yourself. Believe that you are worthy of stepping into the life you've always dreamed of. Believe that your gift is valuable and that you have everything you need to make it happen. Don't let fear, doubt, or insecurity hold you back. Step out on faith, take action, and trust that the best is yet to come. Let me tell you something that's going to change the way you approach your life. You are not meant to fit in. You are not meant to follow the crowd or blend into what everyone else is doing. The truth is, God didn't create you to be like anyone else. He didn't create you to copy someone's success story or live your life by anyone else's blueprint. You were made to stand out, to be bold, to live a life that's uniquely yours. And the moment you stop trying to blend in, that's when you start living in your true power. I know what you might be thinking, but everyone else seems to have it all figured out. They have the job, the career, the lifestyle, the stability, and I get it. It's hard not to compare yourself to others. It's easy to look around and feel like you're the only one who's struggling, the only one who's still trying to figure things out. But let me tell you, comparison is a thief. It will rob you of your peace. It will rob you of your purpose. And it will rob you of the joy that comes from walking in your own path. Because when you're too busy looking at what everyone else is doing, you miss the beauty of your own journey. You miss the lessons that only come when you walk in your own lane. You see, we live in a world where people are constantly trying to keep up with each other. It's like we're all in this race, trying to get to the same finish line. But the truth is, there is no finish line. There is no one-size-fits-all definition of success. Some people will find their fulfillment in a corporate career. Some will find it in entrepreneurship. Others will find it in creative pursuits. And some, well, they'll never find it at all because they're too busy measuring their worth against someone else's life. But you don't have to play that game. You don't have to chase someone else's dream. You have a dream of your own, a calling that is uniquely yours, and it's time to step into it. One of the biggest mistakes people make is thinking they have to follow the same path that everyone else follows to be successful. They think they have to go to school, get a degree, get a job, and work their way up the corporate ladder. And for some people, that's exactly the right path. But for others, that path will never lead them to true fulfillment. For some people, that ladder they're climbing isn't even leaning against the right wall. It's the wall of someone else's dream, not their. But here's the thing you need to understand. God didn't call you to follow someone else's blueprint. He called you to follow His plan for your life, and His plan for you is uniquely yours. It's different from anyone else's, and that's something to be excited about. Now, I know this is easier said than done. It's easy to feel like you're the odd one out when you're not following the traditional path. It's easy to feel like you're behind when you're not doing things the way everyone else is doing them. But let me tell you something, you are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be. The fact that you're not following the crowd, the fact that you're not trying to blend in, means you are on the right path. You are ahead of the game because you are stepping into what God has already designed for you. And yes, it might feel like you're swimming against the current sometimes. It might feel like everyone around you is moving in one direction, and you're the only one going in the opposite direction. But I promise you, that's where the magic happens. That's where the growth happens. That's where you find the courage to step into your true potential. Because when you stop trying to fit in, when you stop trying to live someone else's life, you start living the life you are always meant to live. The truth is, the world needs people who are willing to stand out. It needs people who are willing to take risks, to break the mold, to follow their own calling even when it doesn't make sense to anyone else. It needs people who are willing to step into their purpose, no matter how uncomfortable it might be. And you are one of those people. You have something in you that the world needs. You have a gift, a talent, a passion that is meant to make a difference. But you can't do that if you're trying to be like everyone else. You can't do that if you're constantly trying to fit into a box that was never made for you. You see, God didn't create you to be ordinary. He didn't create you to blend in or to follow the crowd. He created you to be extraordinary. He created you to make an impact, to change the world, to leave your mark. And you can only do that when you embrace the uniqueness of who you are, when you stop trying to measure yourself against the standards of others. It's time for you to start believing that the path God has for you is just as important as anyone else's, and maybe even more important because it's yours. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you shouldn't learn from others. I'm not saying you shouldn't find mentors or seek advice. But at the end of the day, you've got to trust your own instincts, your own journey, and the path that God has laid out for you. You don't need anyone else's approval to walk in your purpose. You don't need anyone else's validation to pursue your dream. You've got to believe in yourself, even when it feels like no one else does. Because when you step into your gift and walk in your purpose, the right people will show up, the right opportunities will come, and the right doors will open. So if you're tired of trying to fit in, tired of following the crowd, tired of living according to someone else's rules, stop right now. It's time to step into your own lane. It's time to embrace the uniqueness of your journey. You were never meant to fit in. You were made to stand out. So stop playing small. Stop shrinking back and start living the life you were always meant to live. Because when you do that, the world will see you. And that's when the real magic happens.